to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we're introducing our brand new die set, Wonderful Window, and this die cuts that adorable little window, a little ledge, some flowers, and some little flower tops to decorate those flowers. So here you're going to see that the die creates some score lines for you right on the edge of those little shutters there. So all you need to do is fold right along that score line and it's going to create an opening window. So you could either not fold along them and have a nice closed window, or you can fold them and have kind of the interactive closing and opening window. You can use the ledge on its own, or you can put the flowers behind it, which is so cute. And one way to color the flowers is to use the little dies created in there to cut those from colored cardstock. And another way is to use your markers. So right here you can take your green marker and color in all of the bottom there, the little leaves and the stem. And then you can go ahead and color the flower tops pink too, and this is a really great way to add color. The other thing you could do would be to cut the whole thing from green and then use your little dies that are included there with those flower tops to color them in that way. So here you can see it layered behind that awesome little ledge and then over the window, which I think is such a cute look. And then here is a look at what it would be looking like if you used the cardstock. So it's just two different looks, and I love that there are both of the options, either markers or cardstock. Now here I am die cutting some peacock cardstock, some craft cardstock, and some new watercolor wishes green paper there. And I'm going to cut that with the grassy border die, and then I'll trim down that little craft cardstock piece too. And I can start to layer this card together. Now here I'm going to stamp Meow You Doin' from the Meow You Doing stamp set onto that grass. And then I can go ahead and layer that onto my card base. Now next I am going to use my Wonderful Window die to cut a white window. And I'll go ahead and fold along those score lines that the die created for me. Then next up, I'm going to use some perfectly plaid fall paper to cut that little ledge from. So it's almost going to be looking like wood, even though it's a plaid pattern, which I think is really cool. And then here I am using one of the fancy scalloped rectangle dies, the smallest one, and I'm going to cut that from white cardstock, and I'm going to cut two of them. And I am going to layer this behind that window to create a curtain. Now this card, I am remaking a card by Jess that was absolutely amazing, and this curtain idea just blew me away. So right there you can see I drew some pencil lines where that little scallop piece was going to need to end up, and then I'm trimming those pieces off, and I'm going to repeat the same thing. So I'm going to draw lines of the places where I need to trim it off, and then I'm going to add a bunch of tape to the back of my window, making sure to avoid the actual shutters so they can still move, and then I can layer those curtain pieces right behind it, and you can see how awesome that is looking. I'm just going to trim off any extra, and then I'm going to take a piece of my watercolor wishes paper. Now to create kind of a sky for the back of my window, I'm going to trace all the way around that window with my pencil, and then when I cut, I'm going to cut on the inside of that line. That way I know when I layer it behind, none of it's going to be peeking out from behind the window. Then I can add some liquid glue all the way around all of those pieces of the window and line that right on top of the sky. So here you can see that I did one without the curtains, and then here's one with the curtains, and so it's kind of a cool look depending on what you're trying to do for your card. I'm going to layer my flowers behind my little windowsill here, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim off two of those outside flowers because I want the flowers to just be inside the window, so you'll see how that's going to look in a second. Once that's all layered, I can add the whole thing to my card front. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the butterfly die from the meadow border dies and die cut some of that yellow cardstock from watercolor wishes. So I'm going to die cut two of those little butterflies. I'm going to add my cat behind those flowers with a little foam tape on the top of his head just to kind of pop him out a little bit. And then I'm going to fold those butterflies in half and just add adhesive to one side of the butterfly. That way they're going to be kind of flying over the window. It's going to be a really cool look. So I'm just going to tape that one side of the butterfly down. That way it's kind of popping up, and then I'll tape down the other side of that butterfly. Now here I'm going to cut down some perfectly plaid rainbow paper and layer that behind, and that's just going to add that extra pop of color that just makes this card so cute. I'm going to cut and score and fold a card base, layer my little cute plaid paper on there, and then my whole scene right on top. Now to finish this off, Jess had added some stickles right to that heart in the center, and so I'm going to do the same thing, and it adds a cute little glittery touch. I just love it, and it really brings that pink in to the whole card. And so I just love those curtains. It's so cute and so fun. Now here I wanted to show you an example where I created the outside of the house by taking my cardstock and cutting it down into 1/2-inch strips and then laying them onto my card base. And it really does kind of look like the siding of the house, which is really, really cool. Now next up, I'm going to be recreating a card by Elise that was just so cute. I just had to make it, and she had a tree in her window. So I am using that leafy tree backdrop die to cut some brown cardstock, and then the coordinated kind of tree backer from that die to cut some cilantro cardstock. And right here I'm deciding kind of what colors my card is going to be, and then I'm going to add a bunch of adhesive to the back of the window, making sure that I don't put it on those shutters there. And then I'm going to layer that tree right behind it, and then add a bunch of adhesive to that tree, and then I can layer that cilantro cardstock right behind that. And I love how it's looking. And then all I have to do is just trim off all of that tree there, and it's going to look like the tree is from behind the window, like we're looking out the window, which I think is such a cool look. I'm going to layer this onto some mermaid cardstock and also just trim all the way around that too, and that's going to create that sky behind the tree. Now I love finishing off these windows with that little heart, so I'm actually going to take the window die and just line it up on some pink cardstock just so I cut out that little heart portion of it. So that's some guava cardstock. I'll run it through my die cut machine, put a little liquid glue in there, and then I can pop that little heart right in, and I think it really does just finish off that whole scene. I am using a dotted rectangle die to cut some of the watercolor wishes paper, and then I'm using one of the fancy folded banners to cut some pink watercolor wishes paper. Now I'm going to use some acetate here, and I'm going to curve my sentiment so that it perfectly matches my banner. Then I can pick up that perfectly curved sentiment with my block and stamp it right on there, and using that acetate makes it a little bit easier than trying to curve it directly onto the block. I'm going to fold the edges of my fancy folded banner, and now I have this cool 3-dimensional banner. I'm going to add this great little tree window here with some foam tape right onto my card. I'm going to also add the cat with some foam tape too, just to add a little extra dimension. I'll put a little tape on those outside edges of this fancy folded banner, and I can layer that right on top. I'm going to create a standard size card base here, 5.5 by 4.25, nice bright white, and I think that's going to be a great backdrop to this scene. And this card is really simple but really cute and fun, and that idea of the tree behind the window, oh, it just makes me smile. I just think it's so adorable. Now next up, I wanted to show you some really cute designs by our design team. So first up here we have a card by Audrey, and I love that she put the cat and the dog in the window. I think it's just so adorable. Nicole has an awesome birthday themed window card. And then here I love how Lizzie put the little bike girl in the background with the pie. It's such a fun and different take on the window. We've got a cute little puppy and kitty scene again. And then I love that Lynette made this an Easter card too. That little bunny adds the perfect touch. So I cannot wait to see what you guys do with this awesome window die. So thank you so much for watching today. Have an amazing day. Bye.